BMW are known for making even their most mundane models interesting to drive. This BMW X6 certainly isn't mundane in the comfort and technology side of things, but with a 2-ton body sitting way up high, will it still be able to put a smile on my face? Let's find out. My name's Tom, and you're watching Paragon Cars. Let's go. Before we start, please like, subscribe and hit the bell if you'd like us to keep bringing you this content. Also, don't forget to follow our socials for updates on our stock. Links in the description below. Now, I think it's important to mention that even though this is the least powerful X6 you can get, it's still a beefy inline-6 diesel with 258 horsepower and 560 Nm of torque. So theoretically, it should still be pretty nippy. Let's see how she does on the 30 to 70 sprint. Well, yeah, 6.23 seconds is pretty damn good, I think. That puts it right around other 3-litre diesels, and of course means it's a fantastic car for daily use. You'll never feel like you need more power. The interior of this X6 is the latest version of the previous generation car, so whilst it looks very slightly dated, it still exudes quality and enough tech to keep you happy. You have a customizable digital cluster, head-up display, big navigation screen and seats that move every which way you need. There's one option though that is surprisingly rare in these, and that is the driver assistance package. That includes lane assist and the wonderful adaptive cruise control system. I'll get into why it suits a car like this later. But first, let's check out the rear. It's nice and spacious for anyone under 6 feet. As you can see, I've got plenty of room and surprisingly quite a bit of headroom, even with the sloping roofline. This particular car also has the rear heated seat option. Your kids will thank you for that one. Then it also has an armrest with storage and cup holders that stay out the way until you need them. Other manufacturers could certainly learn from that one. The boot offers a fundamentally large amount of room when you consider it's got a sloping roofline. At 580 litres, it's big enough for most things. Of course, you can fold the seats down if you need to. And then the only things you might struggle with are big square items like refrigerators and or washing machines. Okay then, let's get driving, shall we? Now, if you're already a regular on the channel, you'll know that I actually reviewed one of these before, but I've matured as a motoring journalist, so I think I might be able to get a slightly more accurate take on exactly what kind of car this is. So yes, it is kind of that all-in-one like car, SUV, coupe looks thing that a lot of manufacturers are making these days. And I just want to see if there's anything that I missed since I last reviewed one. Anyway, over bumps around town, it's very comfortable, yet it's still got that BMW sportiness to it. We are riding on the air suspension, but they've calibrated it in such a way that it's... I don't know how to describe it really. It's not floaty like a lot of other cars are. Mercedes tend to go for a much more floaty feeling with their SUVs. Whereas BMW try to make you think that it's a car but higher up, if you see what I mean. Steering is lovely and light though. In terms of parking, well, it is a fairly large car, and because it's got those coupe lines on it, it's quite hard to find where the corners are, so unless you've got a camera system and parking sensors, it can be pretty difficult to park this thing. Thankfully there's plenty of opposite lock on the steering, so if you do make a mistake you can still just about fix it. Parking sensors are nice and accurate, as you can see, and the reverse camera is a high resolution. It's also got a very good refresh rate. You can get a 360 camera for this. I don't believe this one has it, but if you've got the extra money, it's definitely something worth going for, because the view out the back is just atrocious. And if you can't get that, make sure you at least get a reverse camera. Alright, coming out of junctions, half throttle. This is where you feel the torque of that diesel engine. It really does hit you in the back. Anyway, let's reset our average MPG and see what MPG we can manage on the motorway. It says online you can get 47 miles per gallon out of this thing. Although, will you? I mean, 47 is a lot for a big car like this. I'm hoping the combination of this ZF8 speed gearbox and just loads of low-down torque will help us reach that figure. Before we do that, let's have a quick taste of the handling. Now then, into Sports Plus, this changes the dials, the weight of the steering, the response of the throttle, and should make the suspension slightly stiffer. Put the gearbox into Sports as well, so it should respond a little bit quicker. Let's see what it's like. Also, being a BMW, it puts it into dynamic traction mode, so you've still got stability control, but you have almost no traction control, or no traction control, I believe. Right, let's see what it's like. You can still feel that rear drive bias. It loves to push you around the corner. And the thing is, in the real world, diesels tend to respond a little bit quicker than petrol cars, especially turbo petrol cars. They just have a little bit more get up and go. And that was 54 to 70, just like that. Anyway, let's now go into Eco Pro. Gearbox into regular drive. This changes the dials into the Save the Planet setting, and we're going to see if we can get that 47 miles per gallon figure. On the motorway then, what is this BMW X6 like? Well, oh, it's bliss, really. It really is a lovely car to travel in. Not only because there's almost no road noise and wind noise, this particular X6 has quite a rare option, and that is their Driver Assistance Plus package, which gives you lane assist and adaptive cruise control below 30 miles an hour, or 40, I can't quite remember. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe either below 40 or 30, it will completely control the car for a couple of minutes before it tells you to put your hands on the steering wheel. And that is something that is absolutely wonderful to have, especially if you're stuck in traffic. And it's one of those things you just turn on and you let it do its thing. You never have to intervene, even if there's really bad weather. And I think that is probably one of the best options you can have in a car. It's definitely one worth speccing. I think every car should come with this option actually, because A, it relaxes everyone on the motorway so they can focus on other things, and B, it would stop so many accidents. You know, when you're on the motorway and you get that slinky effect where cars start braking in front of you, then people have to brake harder and harder and harder, and then eventually you get that rear end shunt or pile up. This system would completely stop that from happening. So having it in all brand new cars would be absolutely amazing. Most cars just get the emergency brake assist, but sometimes it doesn't react quite quick enough to slow the cars down, whereas this system can see cars from like 600 to 800 meters away. So it's a brilliant thing to have. Then seating position is the best out of German manufacturers. You can get nice and low. You know, I've still got room to go down in the cabin as well, which I don't usually have. Audi and Mercedes, I usually feel like I'm sitting quite high up still, even on the lowest setting. Whereas this, I can fit my elbows nicely on the armrests. And yeah, it's just a really pleasant driving position. Then in terms of interior quality, the design is nice. I think having this two-tiered dash looks pretty good with all the stitching on the leather, and the actual quality is really good as well. Ever since about 2014, BMW have been really stepping up their game for just fitting interior panels properly. And I'm glad they did, because it means you get a nice driver's car without any compromise. There's also no interior rattles either, and that's something that you really don't want in a big, expensive luxury car. Then in terms of visibility, well, unfortunately, because of those coupe looks, it's pretty poor already. The view out the front is fine, but out the sides, the B-pillar's pretty thick, and especially out your rear three-quarters, is just awful. It's really, really hard to see what's in your rear view mirror. I mean, it's almost as bad as the Audi R8 we reviewed a while ago. If anything, it's actually worse. And it means seeing in your blind spot is really difficult. Thankfully, they've tried to combat it a bit by fitting the curved bits of glass that you get on most cars these days, so you can just about see in your blind spot. But if you are getting one of these, try and find one with a blind spot monitor, as I think it is almost a must. Then talking about cost options, if I only had 3 choices, what would I get? Well, assuming that this is already an M Sport car and comes with the M Sport trim, the first thing I'm going to get is the Harman Kardon sound system, because A, it looks nice, you get the nice grille, and B, it adds a real depth of sound into the car, and it's something you really, really want to have when you're spending a lot of money. The next thing is something this car doesn't have, and that's actually a sunroof. Because of the coupe body styling, it's really dark in the back, and if you've got kids, then you're really going to want a sunroof, because otherwise they're going to end up getting really sick in the back. Because of that air suspension, it is slightly floaty on the motorway. It's not the worst for an SUV, but it is definitely enough to make your rear passengers a bit queasy. And then finally, it's actually going to be this adaptive cruise control system. I'm a massive fan of these systems in any car they come in, purely because when you're stuck in traffic, especially on the M25, I mean, it just takes all the stress out of it. You can totally relax, and it's just like sitting in a chair at home, really. You're doing barely any of the work. Plus it adds another layer of safety. Okay, that's our motorway stint over. I think we've done okay, really, considering we were in stop-start traffic. We've managed 39.4 mpg, which really isn't that bad when you consider the quoted figure is 47. So I think if you are sitting at 60 miles an hour exactly for an extended period of time, you will be able to get the quoted 47. Anyway, let's destroy that figure and get on some B roads. Okie dokie, back into Sports Plus. So we got dynamic traction enabled. I put the gearbox into Sports Manual this time because I'm going to control the gears myself using the flappy paddles. ZF8 speeds are one of the few torque converters that are actually good enough to work with flappy paddles. Right, last time this was kind of boaty, but I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and see what it's like. Oh yes, BMW. The front and the rear go at the same time, that's what you want. Don't want it to understeer. Wow, it does grip around corners well. Hopefully if the traffic clears up we can get a bit of a better taste. So far though, very neutral chassis. BMW are very good at that with their SUVs. The engine's nice and low in the chassis as well. It's not much higher than it would be in a saloon car. So you get a very good inherent balance. Difference you notice between this and a 6 Series is a tiny bit more body roll, but it's nowhere near as much as you'd usually expect. One thing I would like is some adjustable bolsters for the seats. I do believe you can get that as an option, but I don't think this car has it. I'm searching with my right hand but can't find anything. And you just need them purely because they're a bit higher up. Let's give it one more go. Go into third. There we go, traffic's cleared now. Almost go as fast as a hot hatch around there. And the thing is, it's very controllable. It's very safe whilst being fun. See, Volkswagen could learn from this. Even their Golf R understeered sooner than this. And I think that says a lot, really. And of course the Golf R is quicker because you can just get out of corners faster. But, I mean, the chassis in this is still fun. And it's a big SUV. Like, doesn't get much better than that, really. And this is just the basic diesel. If it was wet, you'd pretty easily get this thing sideways. Now, the one disadvantage of big SUVs is, well, they're big. So driving down smaller British B roads can be a little bit challenging, especially if you want to get a move on. BMW kind of counteract that by making the car wrap itself around you really well. When you think this is the base model diesel, it's a pretty nippy thing, really. The suspension controls the body well, so you can place the car exactly where you want it. That's something you really need, and there's not a lot of room either side, frankly. But as you can see, you would almost keep up with a hot hatch down here. Well, I think that's review nearly over. We're nearly out of fun juice, unfortunately. I have to admit, every time I get behind the wheel of a big BMW, I think, yeah, no way this thing can handle well. But somehow they just do. And they don't even try to hide the mess with a fast steering rack or overly stiff suspension. They just make the chassis good. Keep the engine low, make the balance as close to 50-50 as possible, and prioritise powering the rear wheels first. It's a good formula, and frankly one that just makes their cars genuinely more fun to drive than their competitors, even when they come in a shape like this. As always, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, give it a like, and why not subscribe? Because not only can you see more reviews like this, you can see everything we have for sale, which includes this rather tasty BMW. My name's Tom, and you've been watching Paragon Cars. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.